The lunar year is the lunar year is 12 months. So Ramadan is number 9. Ramadan, it's obligatory to fast. And it is 1 month in the year that you have to fast the entirety of the month. Some years it's 30 days, some years it's 29 days. Okay. And again, that's determined either by moon sighting or by calculations, again, depending on the community and the mosque. So, what does it mean to fast? Fasting, there's a physical aspect and then there's a spiritual aspect. The physical aspect is considered secondary. The spiritual aspect is primary. Um, the reason we say this is because there's a lot of literature about because everybody fasts pretty much, but there's a lot of literature about, okay, what are you getting out of the fast? Like, what spiritual significance are you getting out of the fast? So there's traditions from Prophet Muhammad that talks about sallallahu alaihi wasallam that talk about okay, if you're fasting, you're like starving yourself, you're depriving yourself from water, and you're like causing all kinds of havoc and harm. Like, what's the point in fasting? So the physical aspect is a person is not allowed to eat or drink during the fasting day. The fasting day begins at the first daybreak, which is the first time for prayer, which is Fajr. And right now that's about 6:20 a.m. Just say 6 a.m. to be safe. And the fasting day ends at sunset, exactly sunset. And sunset is usually pretty accurate. So if you look up sunset on Google, you'll see what time we're supposed to break our fast. So refraining from any food or drink or any, I guess you can say sexual activity during the fasting day. Okay. That's the physical aspect. The spiritual aspect, there's a verse in the Quran that talks about why we are supposed to fast. And it says that maybe you can attain piety. So there's this notion of you are not eating or drinking, even though nobody knows whether or not you've eaten something or drank something. It's like a covenant that you have between you and God to like remind you that God is watching, right? So when you get used to this or you do this for a month, you have a month worth of practice in just worrying about whether or not you did something that is impermissible in front of God. So this is supposed to kind of give you some practice throughout the rest of the year of on piety. So yeah, Sheikh Qutb, I don't think we can.
Sheikh, you would have to unmute for us to hear the video.
That's on mute, I think. Yeah, still can't hear it.
Go ahead, Sheikh. This
Okay. Okay, so Ramadan, as we said, it's a physical and spiritual aspect. There's also a social aspect to Ramadan. So in Ramadan, there's congregational prayer. A lot of people come together to fast. Said what? A lot of people come together. I didn't hear you.
No, you can continue with the slides. I think that that slide was put up mistakenly. We can go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a social event as well because Muslims come together. There's additional congregational prayer at in the evening. There's breaking fast together. There's charity events. It's encouraged to give a lot of charity. So there's a strengthening of community bond. You see people more during the month of Ramadan. So I think it's important to have conversations with the youth, with the children about, you know, um, scheduling times to go to the mosque, right? Maybe on the weekends, or maybe they can stay behind at the mosque after the night prayer to do those extra night prayers, inshallah. Move on to the next one. So the last 10 nights, or the last 10 days of Ramadan, they carry a significant spiritual importance, because in the last 10 nights, there's one night that is the night of power, Laylatul Qadr. So it's not specified which night it is, right? A lot of people say it's the 27th night specifically, but there's no concrete evidence for that. The concrete evidence is that it's going to be in the last 10 nights. So people do extra work in those last 10 nights because that one night, as it states in the Quran, is better than 1,000 months. That one night is better than 1,000 months. So what people usually do during those last 10 days is they increase in worship, prayer, reflection, so that they can be used to reflection, they can be used to worship, they can be used to remembering God, so that it's not difficult for them. It's easy for them to benefit from every millisecond of that night, the night of power. So during the day, there's more worship. And then at night, usually at the local mosques, they pray extra. So there's already extra prayer after the night prayer, after Isha, which lasts about an hour, hour and a half, give or take. And then even after that, there's more prayer time, right? So what's going on is, they're standing in prayer, reciting the Quran. There's usually like 2 or 3 different reciters. Each one has a nice, beautiful voice, and they're reciting different portions from the Quran. And there's reflection, there's group prayers. And as it says in the at the end, the youth may need transport between 9 and 1 a.m. And again, it's going to depend on the mosque. It's going to depend on the area where you live and the mosque. Our mosque, what we do is we start at about 9, and as it says here, we end at about 1 a.m., 1:30 a.m. But some mosques may like start at 9 and then, take a break and then come back at 3. So depending on your area. So the last 10 nights, again, is busy with reflection, with prayer. At the end of Ramadan, this year, according to calculations, Eid, the last day of Ramadan, or the day after the last day of Ramadan is Eid. So the last day of Ramadan is going to be a Friday. No, Saturday, sorry. Saturday the 29th. Now, again, depending on the area, depending on the community, they may go with calculations, they may go with moon sighting. So Eid is either going to be Sunday or Monday. So I think most communities will do Eid on Sunday, which is the 30th of March, inshallah ta'ala. The significance of Eid. Why is it important? So Eid is the end or the day after Ramadan, the first day of Shawwal. Shawwal is the 10th month. So basically, you're celebrating having fasted an entire month. And you celebrate by prayer. It's a morning prayer that starts off the day. Everybody puts on their best clothes. They put on their best perfume and they look their best as if they're going to a wedding, right? Or they're going to a graduation. It's a festive day, a lot of candy, a lot of balloons, a lot of celebration, a lot of different types of food. And another thing that's significant on that day is Zakatul Fitr. Zakatul Fitr is a charity that everybody has to give. So it's supposed to be a portion of food, like a meal or something, or it's equivalent in money. So that this year is probably going to be like $15 per person. And the best way to do that charity is to contact the local mosque about how to do it, how to go about doing it. So what you're doing, the significance of this charity is so that poor people can also be happy on that day. They can celebrate. They're not worried about food. They're not worried about having to eat, right? So that everybody can be festive and happy on that day, not worrying about basic needs and necessities. So it's a day of celebration, and it's also a day of charity. And again, you want to contact the local mosque in your area about how to get there, what time the prayer will be in the morning, and different festive activities that they'd be doing on those few days of Ramadan of Eid.
We do encourage the agencies to reach out to your local mosque to ask them what time would the Eid prayer be, or what day they'll be having Eid. For those of you who we are already in contact with, we'll also help you guys reach out to those mosques and see what day they'll have Eid prayer available, and if transport would be available, we can definitely coordinate that. Before we talk about accommodating our foster youth, I'd like to open the floor for any questions, any discussion points that you may have. Sheikh, you spoke earlier about the last 10 nights. Are there any particular days that the youth should be more interested in going to the mosque those nights? I know we typically talk about odd nights, but for the sake of transportation and accommodation for the youth, should they be more focused on particular days?
So usually, like you said, odd nights, especially the 27th night, which will be the 26th of March. So the 26th of March is going to be a Wednesday, right? So the 26th of March in particular, because a lot of people say the 27th is the night. So, many would probably be keen on being at the mosque on the 26th. But generally, I think it's important just to have a discussion with them about what days are important to them to be going to the mosque. And especially you want to be supportive on those last 10 nights.
Jazakallah khair. We do have a question in the chat. I know it was briefly answered, but it was asked, at what age do children typically begin to participate in fasting?
Good question. So it's going to be when they reach puberty. And that's when it's mandatory for them to fast. But through my experience, a lot of children start fasting like 7, 8 years old. So, um, you know, they just they want to fast. I mean, they don't necessarily have to. It's not an obligation for them to fast at that age. But if that's what they want to do, you want to support them. Maybe it's not maybe, but it's helpful to tell them that they don't have to fast at that age just yet. But if they do want to fast, you want to instruct them on, how they should eat and what kind of things they should do to prepare and, drink extra water, stuff like that. And you want to monitor them throughout the day to make sure that they're not getting exhausted. Maybe some days they can take a break from fasting, especially at that ripe young age. But usually children are like prepared and ready to like go all out on fasting the whole month at like 10, 11 years old.
Thank you for that. Does anybody have any other questions or any points that need clarification? If not, we can move on and just drop the questions in the chat, inshallah. We're gonna, start talking about accommodating our youth during Ramadan. We did get a lot of emails and, hopped on a lot of calls. And a lot of staff were asking how we can support them or how they can support their youth, especially in the last 10 nights that's coming up. And inshallah, Sheikh, I'll be, kind of bouncing, this ball back and forth with any of the questions that may pop up. But one thing that we've noticed is that, a lot of times our staff, either they are, uninformed about the last 10 nights or Ramadan generally, or have very little information about it or don't know how to approach, the topic. So I think it's important while the youth are, either at the agencies or the group homes, is to, for staff to initiate conversations with their youth. And what that looks like is just asking, hey, do you need anything, for the month of Ramadan? Is there anything that we can do to accommodate, you and help make fasting a bit more easier? So gauge their interest also in participating at mosque activities. Now, I'm not familiar with the cities, all the cities and the local mosques, but I assume based on, communications we've had so far with most of you is that, there are local mosques there. Transportation may be an issue, but if you can just, reach out to the mosque, ask what activities they may have, if they have community iftars where they can break their fast together. Because we are noticing that a lot of youth are breaking fasts on their own, and part of the culture of Ramadan specifically is to, get with your neighbors, get with the community, sit down, eat together. That's part of the, the culture, for the lack of a better term, that's like the vibe of Ramadan. And being that, if you have youth who are refugees, there is a sense of, longing for that because, back home, that's something that they would do, something that they would participate in. So if you can offer support regarding, reaching out to mosques and asking them about the activities, please do so. Also, transportation has been an issue. If the agency provides transportation, that would be something that's, we recommend that you do. If not, we've been working hard to find volunteers in those local areas to support them with transportation. 2 meals, and I don't think the Sheikh like mentioned this, extensively. There are 2 meals that youth should definitely try to, partake in. One is the suhoor, which is like the pre-dawn meal, which kind of gives us the energy for the day. Okay, and then you have the iftar meal, which is breaking fast at sunset. I know myself, it's hard for me to wake up for suhoor, but some people can't function or fast, during the day without it. So if your youth are able to wake up pre-dawn, and that's before like the morning prayer, whether it's to eat a date, drink some water, get some electrolytes in for the day, I think that will be, a recommended route to take, especially if they're going to school and participating in any activities that's tiresome on the body. As well as breakfast, if they are out throughout the day doing any activities, please make sure that they are breaking their fast on time. It is recommended that they break fast as soon as, sunset begins. So if they're out, I know like last week we had the youth were out, for example, one of the agencies, and some of them didn't break fast on time. So we do recommend that you have break fast, on time. Sheikh, is there anything particular you want me to mention about, the suhoor and breaking fast?
So suhoor, the morning meal, I guess, especially with young children, it's better that they have a meal, right? So they're not eating late at night and then going to bed and then maybe eating a date or drinking some water just before dawn. It's better that they have a meal so that they have energy for the day. So if adjusting sleep schedule, taking a nap during the day is helpful, so that they can have adequate rest and at the same time be able to function throughout the day with that meal. As for the evening meal, it's best that they break fast as soon as the time comes in. So as soon as the sun sets, they're eating, and they don't necessarily have to have a big meal at that right at that particular moment. Maybe they'll have something light and then later on eat something, have a larger meal. So 2 meals, as Sheikh Ahmed mentioned, is preferable, inshallah.
Okay, we have a question in the chat. This is a really good question, Margaret. I would ask if you can elaborate a little. I'll ask it anyway. So, Sheikh, what for youth who live in unpredictable and emotionally intense settings, what would you recommend for supportive adults to do to help them get through the last 10 nights if they are triggered or overwhelmed by the environment?
I think every situation is going to be different depending on exactly what's going on, but generally you want to offer support. Let them know some of the things that you're familiar with, the importance of the last 10 nights, their significance, and let them know that you're there to support them and help them in any way they need or in any way you can. And allow them to tell you what they need and to tell you, for example, if you can provide transportation to get them to, get out of the environment that they're in, to be in a mosque around other Muslims that are practicing praying, offer them to take them to the mosque for iftar. That's breaking their fast at sunset, because a lot of mosques have free iftar. They just, eat with everybody. So just taking them out of the tense environment, giving them a chance to breathe, I guess. But basically, letting them know that you're there to support them is very helpful.
I would also add if there's any professional help that they can seek that may help them get through the day. If there's, if the issues that they're dealing with have, long-term effects, it would be, obviously, wise and important for them to get, professional help. In the last Ramadan, generally in the last 10 nights, we do tend to push ourselves, spiritually. So we do, recommend anything that may trigger a particular behavior, or a reaction for them to kind of stay away from those triggers. It will help them, immensely. If we didn't answer your question, you can ask us, specifically later on, like towards the end, if you have any particular situation or circumstance that needs to be addressed, and we can try to answer that in more detail. So creating a, supportive, home environment, this is a big one. A lot of our foster youth, either they're placed with, Muslims, or some of them are placed with non-Muslims. And, the non-Muslim foster parents, they've been very accommodating and supporting. So I think one of the biggest things again during Ramadan is obviously prayer. So it would be really nice for the youth to have a, a particular place to pray, to reflect, to kind of get away from the world a little bit and continue their worship in peace, and try to encourage them also to participate in the Ramadan activities again. The Ramadan culture is something that we all, look forward to take part of. We love to eat with people. We love to go out at night, to drink our coffees and teas, hang out with friends. It's typically, all-nighters for a lot of, Muslims around the world. They just, stay up all night, chat, converse with other people, continue prayers throughout the night. And they start their night at the mosque, you know. I know in Grand Rapids we have like, Masjid Tawheed, for example, and there's a huge audience there. There's a huge, attending group. And typically the night starts there and it just, goes on to 3, 4 o'clock in the morning where, they're all hanging out together having their pre-dawn meal. So I know a lot of agencies can't necessarily accommodate that, but if in any way you can create a semblance of it, I'm sure the youth will appreciate it. So just have them enjoy Ramadan as well, whether that's, attending a mosque, uh, attending some kind of activity that the local mosque is hosting. I think that will be that'll be important for them. Also, in the last 10 nights, Sheikh, we didn't talk about i'tikaf. I think maybe, and I'm not sure if agencies are allowed to do this, and maybe you guys can answer in the chat, if youth are allowed to spend, long hours, of the night at, at their local mosques, because there is a practice in Ramadan where the last 10 nights, individuals will spend the night there at the mosque, for the last 10 nights, and they won't leave the mosque at all. Sheikh, if you want to touch a little more on that, you can, but I think generally the last 10 nights, a lot of people just spend the night there, spend their day there, and they don't leave. Again, I'm not sure agencies can allow that, but if it's an option, it's something to think about.
Yeah, so i'tikaf is like Sheikh Qutb mentioned, to stay the last 10 nights in the mosque, pretty much. So they just live there. There's not all mosques provide this service, but there are some that do. So basically they would have their clothes there for the 10 days. They'd be able to take showers and everything there. Meals, for the most part, are provided by the mosque. Food is donated on a daily, so they have their iftar there. So they usually don't have to worry about food. But basically they're there at the mosque for those 10 days. And the reason that they're in the mosque is so that they're not worried about other things, school, I mean, of course, if they have break, it's better. But distractions, television, phone, all that other stuff is out of the picture so that they can just focus on worship. So that's
Thank you for that, Sheikh. Another thing that we've been hearing a lot too is, how can we support and accommodate our youth, whether they're at school or at work. Again, communication is always going to be in the forefront of any requests that, our youth may have or agencies may have. So I think if we can open communication, that will help youth feel comfortable. Talking to teachers about fasting and prayers that are needed. I know a lot of our youth, what they do is that when it's time for prayer, they talk to their teacher or they talk to the AP, their assistant principal, like providing them like a room, to pray during noon or at the time of lunch where everyone goes to the cafeteria area. They're able to kind of excuse themselves and be elsewhere so they're not, then they don't feel the need that they need to eat. So I think helping them that way, is really important for our students, especially those who, again, participate in any sports or activities throughout the day. Have them accommodate their lunch breaks, since they're fasting. And flexibility with physical activities. A lot of our youth are in sports and, typically they have like PE classes or gym or whatnot. I will say that at least me when I was younger, even while I was fasting, I would, I would participate in sports, but a lot of our youth also do so, but then they end up feeling the exhaustion after that and may feel the need to either break their fast or, kind of take a sip of water, which, again, if they can control their day and the things that they do, it should be easier for them to fast. So kind of work with them in terms of like their schedules throughout the day. If there's any like chores or activities that they do within the agency, please like try to adjust that just to accommodate them some more, and they can break fast at its prescribed time. Eid Al Fitr, Shireen, are we going to include this in this presentation? I think
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
sure?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Eid al-Fitr again is another one of our holidays. We do have, two holidays in Islam. One is Eid al-Fitr, and the other is Eid al-Adha. But in particular, we're going to talk about Eid al-Fitr, which is the day after Ramadan, which signifies, the completion of the month of Ramadan and celebrating it. I can't stress this enough, again, like the Sheikh said, that Eid is a huge day for a lot of Muslims. So please, please, please support them and encourage them to attend Eid prayer. Like the Sheikh mentioned that, have them wear, the best of clothes that they have, if they have it, smell nice, look nice. It's kind of like a competition that day, like kind of who has like the best, clothes and dress on. So if they can, dress up for that day, I think will be really nice. Has them, feel good, look good. And inshallah, it accompanies the culture that, that we kind of partake in Ramadan and after. So have them wear their cultural attire. I know a lot of our youth are from like, West Africa and in other countries. So if they have already any cultural attire that they'd like to wear, please have them wear it. If there's something that you can accommodate and buy for them, and if there's something that we can actually help them purchase. I think we've sent out, emails in the past regarding cultural attire that MFCA supports and helps with. So this will be a good time to kind of, inquire about that. Also, if you have a budget for halal meals, so, the breakfast that day should include some kind of meal and some kind of sweets. Again, it's a celebratory day. So anything that will, again, put a smile on their faces, make them feel that they're back at home. This is, typically the way it's done. And all this can be done, honestly, if you are able to connect with the local mosque, or families, prior to kind of coordinate with them to see if who's hosting what, can they accommodate, this a large number of youth, or if not, attend other community activities, because it's not only mosques, for example, that hold the prayers. There are other organizations that may do so. So just reach out to your local organizations. We did have an agency ask us the other day, what do we recommend to do on that day? Now, again, I'm not familiar with the cities, but if you guys can have something fun, scheduled for them, whether it's at a park, whether it's, an indoor activity, just something for them to feel like they are celebrating, the day of Eid in particular. Now, the celebration itself, for the people who want to exaggerate, can last between like 1 to 3 days. A lot of people typically do it in the first day after Ramadan. They celebrate it, with any activity or outing, but you have kind of up to 3 days to do so after the month of Ramadan. So it could be either the Sunday, Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday that you can schedule something for them. It doesn't have to be something extravagant, but something that the youth can recognize as a celebration. Again, just talking more about advocating for, the religious needs of the youth. We had a request, sometime last year where the agency wanted us to talk to the schools to help them provide either a space for prayer or, allow this youth to leave schools to pray their Friday prayers. This is important. We do ask that agencies advocate on their religious needs. So anything that the youth may need religiously, please try to support them as much as you can. If there are things that, go against, school policy or stuff like that, we wouldn't know, but you as an agency would know because you are in communication with either like the student or the school itself. Provide any written documentation that's needed. Foster parents, educate foster parents on cultural and religious accommodations. So whether that's halal food, prayer times, modest clothings, and any holiday observances. Again, typically it's, 2 holidays for Muslims. So we try to be as accommodating as possible for those 2 dates. Connect with Muslim mentors and community resources. We are trying in some of the cities, especially in Grand Rapids, to find volunteers, to find mentors for, our foster youth. We understand that there may not be a lot for them to do, especially for like the new arrivals. So we want to kind of match them and connect them with Muslims in that local area to help them for any like emotional support and a sense of belonging. So if you guys have any questions about like volunteers and mentors, we are trying to pilot some programs in different cities for our foster youth. So you can just reach out to us via email, and hopefully we can assist you in that regards. We are hoping, and please, if you haven't, that you all have received Eid gift packages for your youth that are going to be celebrating Eid. Most of you should have definitely received Eid packages. Eid packages. If you have not, please reach out to us. Also, we've been able to support you guys every Friday with Ramadan iftars and meals. So we hope that you guys definitely enjoyed that. And please, again, connect with your local mosque and Muslim community, see what activities that they have for the last 10 nights. And if you guys have any volunteers in mind for transportation, we try to find volunteers, but it's sometimes it could be difficult because of the scheduling. If you have any volunteers that may want to help with transportation, please let us know. If we have volunteers, we'll let you know. And I think that would be it. I would like to open the floor for any questions regarding support. Any support or assistance that you guys may need. There's also a poll that's up on your screen. Please, you guys can take a couple of minutes to answer those. But you can definitely unmute yourself if you have any questions, anything that we may have missed, or anything you would like us to add. We can definitely use this time to talk about. I know we have a couple of minutes left. Let's see. Also in the chat is the link for the cultural clothing. Shireen, do you want to put the halal meat one as well? If that's needed, you can include the halal meat form as well.
Just wanted to share that we have multiple staff in the room. The question that you posed about, whether the youth are able to, spend time at the mosque. I think that's going to be definitely an individual case-by-case question that for the youth, the staff, whatever program that they're working in, or their home, the foster home, or the independent living program, they should talk with the staff and talk to them about what rules, that we have to, abide by, but then also talking with them about their desire to do, if they want to continue to go to the mosque or stay later, there should be someone at the mosque that we can work with that would be able to, verify and, work with as far as the youth attending. So I think that's definitely, we've just been sharing here in this room about different, case by case scenarios for each of the youth if they want to do that, and how we can continue to support them if that's something that we can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know, I mean, currently at your agency now, it's like, I don't know if they have to be home, be back, at the home at a certain time, but has there been any accommodations made in the past, like for previous Ramadans, that the youth were out like maybe late at night or would come back, later than usual?
I'm not Yeah, I'm not sure.
Roles.
I think in there are curfew and certain requirements, certain programs where the youth actually have to spend the night, in their placement. But again, that's why I was just wanting to mention that it definitely has to be explored case by case, depending on the different program that the youth is in. But definitely we can look at that as something we should be looking at as a staff to see what we can do. If it's something that we can accommodate and there aren't rules that, that they are not able to, then that's something that we can try to work towards. But we were just talking about the different homes and the different placement types and how that might be different for each of the youth.
Absolutely, and I liked how, we may have to preface, just a conversation of like staying out in the last 10 nights if the youth are even interested in it in the first place. Because there may, be youth who are not, interested in participating in Ramadan regarding religious activities. So again, just initiating that conversation and, prefacing it with, for those who actually want to partake, they can, and it's not something that every youth needs to participate in.
Yeah, and I agree, the conversation definitely needs to happen, and just encouraging that they know that is an option. If that's something that they're desiring to do, then, that's something that the youth and the staff can talk about together and then get supervisory, approval involved and, work towards that for them. I think I love what you're saying, and doing everything we can to support the youth during this time is really kind of, I think, the big push. And I feel my takeaway, and thank you. I really thank you for your time today.
No, thank you guys for attending. And I also want to point out for the agencies that do have new arrivals, and it's hard for me to speak for the youth's experience, but, just from the conversation that I've had so far with them, a lot of them may not feel comfortable to initiate these conversations. And for those of you who've been with your agencies for a while and obviously have, managed, all these cases, you can kind of get a feel of, who's willing to kind of talk about certain things. But for the newer arrivals, I'm sure they're a little more hesitant and reluctant to kind of bring up, anything regarding like Ramadan or even, for their own accommodation simply because they're new. So we do encourage you all to kind of, even if you have micro discussions with them, making them feel a little more comfortable, at least to initiate discussion with you all as either supervisors or case managers. I think will be really helpful for them, during Ramadan and post, because, the needs don't stop simply because, Ramadan is over. There are religious needs like throughout the whole year, and we hope that you all as agencies can accommodate them. Questions. I think we're on time. That's good. I know it's a Tuesday. We all have things to do. So if you do not have any questions, comments, any suggestions, you can email us at mfca@muslimfostercare.org. And I would like to put Imam Abdullah's information here. Imam Abdullah, if you can put your information in the chat, if they have any questions, they can definitely reach out to you. I know, again, if they're not connected with their local mosque, sometimes they may want to reach out to someone who has some knowledge to answer their religious questions and spiritual needs. So Imam Abdullah will put his information in the chat and maybe an email address where they can, contact him, or even you as staff and supervisors, you guys can contact him as well, as I am not, a scholar in religious matters. So Imam Abdullah would have to do.
Yeah, I'm putting it in chat now, inshallah.
Thank you so much, Sheikh Abdullah. Yeah, of course. Thank you, Rachel. We appreciate you. Again, guys, if you have any questions, please email us. And I believe, Shireen, all the 8 packages have been sent out, but we do have the link here for cultural attire, for halal meat as well. We have information regarding that for the youth who do or want halal meat. Inshallah, MFCA will be able to accommodate them and have those either delivered or picked up. Thank you all. I am going to end the chat now. Thank you all for attending. Thank you, Sheikh Abdullah. And hopefully we'll see you guys at our next workshop. or continue our conversations with those we're in contact with. Thank you all.
Goodbye.
That's not a question.